palette collection. As you saw at the beginning, I have a huge palette collection. I mean, the thing is ginormous, and I really love them. This is sort of my passion and something that I love, and I really wanted to share this because I feel like this is something I love looking at for YouTube, and I love seeing the new palettes because sometimes you can't see inside some of the older palettes, but you can still find them on different places, eBay or whatever, and it's nice to get an idea of what's out there and what you might like. So I thought that I would start with categories. So I've put all my palettes into the categories that they are in as far as brands. So why don't we start with some of the ones that I have just a couple of. So this is what I have for the balm. I have the Nude-attude. That's what it looks like inside. I don't use this palette very much. In fact, it doesn't get nearly the amount of love that it should. I won't be able to swatch every single one, but this is probably one of my favorite colors in the palette. I think it's a nice brown with a little burgundy in it. So I really enjoy that one. I really just don't use it very often. It does come with a little brush that I really haven't ever used. So that one's not getting as much love as it could. Same with this. This is Meet Matte Nude. I love my nude shadows. Those are probably, you'll see in the palettes, they are something that I absolutely love. My nude shadows are, my matte shadows are some of my best loves. So in this palette, I would say my favorite color would have to be the Matte Sing. And let's see if we can swatch that. It has a nice rosy glow. I do like this palette. I just don't use it very often, unfortunately. I don't know why, because I really do like it. I should break it out more often. All right, and then we move on to Lorac. So the first of the Lorac ones, this was in like a little holiday kit, and it's a mint edition. I believe this was the Ulta one, because there was another one from Sephora, but I found this one on HauteLook. I really loved it, mainly because of the blush color, which I just absolutely adored. Let's see if we can see that. It's not showing up tremendously true in the viewfinder because of the sparkle. It definitely has pinky quality and it's coming up a little bit more peach, but I do like a lot of these shadows. I think they're nice. So that's that one, but I just don't use it very often. This one I love. It's the Lorac Original Unzipped. It's got mascara all over it. I do like this palette. I've recently more rediscovered it since the Lorac Gold came out, which I don't have because I'm not a huge fan of the gold shadows. But I have been trying to use this palette more. I do like it a lot. I think it's very similar to my Naked 3 palette, and unfortunately, I think I just haven't given this one enough love. I think part of the reason is that there are limited mattes in it. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 mattes. And this one's like a satin. I do love this one though. This one is one of my favorites. It's just a nice transition color. So I think it's a beautiful palette. I do think it's beautiful. Alright, now we're into the Lorac Pros. This is 1 and 2. I know some people are big on their 1s and other people are big on the 2. I like both of them for different reasons. So this is Lorac 1. So I have dipped into it quite a bit because I do love my matte shadows. So the 2 that I probably use the most are Taupe and Mauve. And Mauve's got a nice little dip going into it right there. Let's see if we can... I love that Mauve shadow. And I would say if I'm using any of the, it looks like I can see, Deep Purple and Garnet has been dipped into quite a bit. Espresso's been dipped into quite a bit. So those are the ones that I really seem to have been using. And then with the Lorac Pro 2, so this one has been interesting. I definitely enjoy Nectar. It's probably one of my absolute favorites. You've probably seen this one swatched though a million times. And I've done a little bit of Jade, but that was mainly because it's St. Patty's Day. So that is the Lorac 2. So now we're moving on. I'm going to do some of my palettes that I only have one of that particular brand next. So this one is my Sigma. This is the Warm Neutrals palette. And this one again, it doesn't get as much love for me as it probably should. I do like it. I really enjoy this color right here. Again, I'm not sure what it's called, but see that there? It's really beautiful. So I've loved this palette. This one I've used quite a bit. I dip into this one for liner. This is a good highlight. So I have enjoyed it. I just probably don't use it as much as some of the others. This one is probably one of my favorites as far as look. This is the Kat Von D Spellbinder palette that I just absolutely love the artistry on it. It's just an absolutely gorgeous palette. But as you can see, I have basically not really touched this palette at all. I really have not dipped into it, and that's a shame because there are some really gorgeous colors. So I'm going to make a point to kind of put it in my rotation and to start using it more often. So then the next palette I have is a sleek palette, and I got this one primarily because if any of you watch some of the videos on my channel, you'll know that I am a henna artist for Renaissance fairs. And so I do a lot of fairy makeup and things like that. And so this has these amazing bright oranges and bright reds in it, and this wonderful matte black and this bright, bright blue. I mean, they just have some really phenomenal colors in here, and it is so pigmented. I'll do these three here. I'll show you. And they're so creamy and rich. You can see how, and that was just one swipe of my finger, how just shimmery and pigmented they are. It's just amazing. This palette is called the I Divine Sunset palette, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And I did have to get this one off Amazon, but it is absolutely perfect for any type of costume makeup or theatrical makeup. The next palette that I have, and this is actually a recent acquisition, and I have been loving it. I am so happy I got it. I do recommend it if you like some reds and some more neutrals. It is absolutely gorgeous, and this is the Venus the Grunge palette. I am just absolutely loving Rebirth and Divine over here. Let's see if I have any skin left. See, they're just absolutely gorgeous colors. Just really, really beautiful, and I couldn't be happier with this palette right now. So next we'll move on. I have one Kat Von D, another Kat Von D palette here. Actually, I forgot. I had two of those. I thought I had separate ones, but it's because it's so big. This is the Monarch palette, and again, this is one of those palettes that just does not get enough love from me. And I don't know why, because like this color here is just look at that. I mean, it just doesn't get prettier than that. I don't know why I haven't been using it more. I just need to open it up. I don't know why. But I do find though, if you'll see here, as I try and blend it out with my finger. Now, obviously, I always blend with a brush, but as you can see, you can still see that harsh line. So I think that's one reason why I haven't used this palette quite as much as maybe some others, is because it does take a while to kind of blend out. You really have to work with the colors because they are so pigmented, and it does take a little bit of effort and brush work to get them to really blend out. So then the next one that I have, that I only have one of, is the Stila In the Know palette. So for those of you with the who are in the know, you know that these are all matte shadows. But I really love this color here called Fire. It's absolutely gorgeous. You can see the kind of colors I tend to be drawn to. So now I love that palette. It's beautiful. And then the next one that I have that I'm sure many of you are very aware of is the IT Cosmetics Naturally Pretty palette, Volume 1. And again, this is an all matte palette that is going to be shining because of the light. That is actually showing up pretty true in the viewfinder here. The ones that I've used the most are Soulful here and Sunset. Just absolutely in love with those two colors. You can kind of see I have a love for that sunset-y type color. So I really love that palette, and it does get a fair amount of use. Another one-off would be my Becca palette. I love my nudes, I really do. I love my neutral shadows, and so this palette is really beautiful. It is pretty cool toned, so sometimes that takes a little bit of effort for me to work with, but I do like it a lot. The next one I have is actually my only Sonya Kashik palette, and this is pretty old. I got it on clearance, and you know, I really did use it quite a bit. It was actually, I think, the very first palette I ever owned of sort of like branching out from what I had been using before, and I was a only BareMinerals girl. So I hadn't had any palettes or things like that. So this is before BareMinerals started making their ready palettes and things. So I really didn't have anything in the way of eyeshadow palettes. I had all these loose shadows, and so this was my first foray into it, and I liked it a lot. But as you can probably see, it is just chock full of shimmer. Everything is shimmer. So I did dip quite a bit into the highlight shade. So, but it's a good little palette. Let's see here. So I don't own many in the way of drugstore palettes. I just haven't ever been a huge fan of them. So the drugstore palettes I do own are right here. So the reason why I got this one, this is the e.l.f. Ariel palette, is because I'm absolutely obsessed with mermaids, and I have wanted to be Ariel probably for my entire life. So this is more, I got this palette more because I just wanted to have the Ariel palette, and I really haven't used anything in it. The Siren Song color up at the top, you can probably imagine, is the copper color. That I really like, but I have not touched this palette at all. It's in, I still have the tag so that it has the little A on it. I just love Ariel. The thing that I was most disappointed about this palette, though, is that they left everything colored on this cover except her hair. She's known for her red hair, and they completely left it out. So that was a little bit disappointing with it, but I got that. It was less than $5, so I do have these three palettes. One, and by palette, I know this looks small, but I had to make some sort of definitive because I have so many duos and things like that. So any grouping of 4 or more shadows I deem as a palette for this video. So I had to then include this e.l.f. one. This is the Butternut. I got this because Beauty Broadcast, Emily Noel, said that this had some dupes in it for some MAC shadows, and I do not buy MAC at all. And I know some of you are like, oh no, how can you not buy MAC? Well, unfortunately, MAC animal tests, and I'm a vegan. So sometimes I'll get a palette before I know that the company tests on animals. And in that case, I'll still use the palette. I still own it. I'll still do whatever I need to do. But for the most part, if I already know ahead of time that a company tests on animals and are being cruel in that way, then I will not purchase from them. I don't prescribe, though, to belief that if just the parent company is testing on animals, then I'm going to avoid the smaller company. For example, Too Faced does not test on animals, but their parent company, because they were bought, does currently test on animals. But the company themselves are trying to promote no animal testing and no animal cruelty. And so if they do well, then the parent company might adopt that same philosophy. So that's sort of the way that I view that. So I do have the Comfort Zone and the Petal Pusher in Wet n Wild. I'm sure you guys have seen these before. I maybe swatched these once. I don't really use them at all. That's pretty much where it's at. Then I have a few from BareMinerals here. I have 2 of their quads. One is The Sweetest Thing. This is a pastel palette I got, showing up much warmer than it is. This is actually a very cool tone gray, and this is a yellowy highlight. This is a silvery gray, and this is a very light pink. So it's not showing up tremendously true in the viewfinder in this one. But again, I haven't really used that one at all. I thought I was going to like it, but I think it was a freebie. This one, on the other hand, I have used quite a bit. And this one is showing up a little bit more true in the viewfinder. So this one is beautiful. This has a great coppery color in it. It's just lovely. This is called the Happy Place, and it's just absolutely lovely. Got purples and some coppers. This is a BareMinerals, what one is this? Fired Up. And I'm thinking maybe I just need to do like some sort of blog sale or something with this one. I I haven't used it, obviously. Oops. All the pieces are still in there. Everything is still the way it is. I do love these Prime Times, but I already have one in Bronze Twig, and so I just figured I would use that one when my other one runs out. I do love the Prime Time shadow bases. I love those from BareMinerals. So that one just has not gotten enough love, and I'm just not a huge fan of the colors that are in it. So moving on, what do we want to do next? The next two ones are pretty big. I have a lot of each of them. So let's maybe move on to Tarte next. What do you think? All right, so Tarte. And Tarte is big too because they decided that they wanted to make gigantic packaging for some of their holiday stuff. So let's begin. So for Tarte, this was one of their holiday palettes, I think 2 years ago. And do they even have a name? It's just Amazonian clay. I don't remember what the name of it was, but I do know that I've enjoyed it quite a bit. I love Tarte. They are another cruelty-free company. They have amazing shadows and products. I really love this one down here is Teddy Bear. I've dug into that quite a bit. I really do love these shadows. Next, I would say let's move on to the bigger ones and just get those over with. So these are two different holiday palettes from 2 different years. One's this past year and one's the year before. So this one here is all together. So it came with this extra little thing so that you could travel with it, which is nice. It does make this bigger palette more functioning when you can have the smaller palette to bring around with you. So it had a drawer, and inside the drawer, obviously, I've taken out everything. This is where this was stored, and lip glosses, but I have those all pulled out because I do love their lip glosses. And then up at the top here is where we have all the eyeshadows. So what I love so much about Tarte is they also include blushes with their eyeshadows. And their Amazonian clay blushes are just phenomenal. Exposed is probably my favorite, as most people have, but my goodness, they're just absolutely lovely. And what's nice about this is you have the ability to open this up and kind of pop out one of these puppies like that. And you pop it in, and then you have a palette, blush and all the colors that you need, ready to go on the go. So I really like that a lot. So they repeated that process again for this year in another one, but I really like this one better than the gold. I just thought this was absolutely beautiful. Tufted, looks like Tiffany's. This one didn't have the pull-out drawer with it though. This one, everything else, this came separate with it. But you got this fabulous box, and those are the shadows and blushes in it. Really beautiful this time, much more neutral. And I have that one in there right now. Really, really beautiful. I love this box. I thought the box was just absolutely gorgeous. So I really do enjoy Tarte shadows. I do have 2 of their circular ones. This one is Coral Crush. One of the things it began with was Tarte, and I was not able to get my hands on the Aqua Lilies, the circular palette, and I wanted it so bad, and I was never able to get it. And so after that, it was, oh my gosh, if it's limited edition, I need to make sure I get it like right away, because I'm going to just, I'm going to be so upset if I can't get this palette. So this is the Coral Crush palette, and it's lovely. I've dug into the bronzer. I'm obsessed with their Tarte's bronzer quite a bit. I do love this palette. I don't give it as much love anymore as I probably should, just because I have some newer Tarte palettes that I've been loving. This one, the Rainforest in the Dark palette, Rainforest After Dark palette. I fell in love because of the snake. I absolutely adore snakes. I love snakes, and this looked like Orin from the Neverending Story, if any of you are familiar with that, with a beautiful purple gemstone. So I fell in love with that, number 1. And then on the inside, it had one of my favorite bronzers, and it had just an absolutely beautiful blush. Let's see if I have any space left on. Oh, it's not showing up. I'm very tan right now, but I usually get very pale, and so that blush is gorgeous when I'm pale. But right now I'm very tan, so it's not showing up as well. This is the Tarte Be MATTEnificent palette, which I absolutely adore. I know some people didn't like it, but for me, I actually own 2 of them because I was so worried it was limited edition, and I loved it so much that I wanted to make sure that I got it. As you can see, there is a very large divot in both of these colors. I'm obsessed with those colors. I absolutely love this palette. It's showing up fairly true in the viewfinder right now. I haven't used it as much, I would say, in the past month or so, because I like to use new palettes when I get them, and I've gotten a couple new palettes recently, so that's been really exciting. But this is going to be a staple of mine for many, many years because I absolutely love it. So one of those new palettes that I was talking about has been the Tartelette palette. I love these new covers for them. I do think the MATTEnificent palette was more beautiful because it had that cut stone, but this, again, I love the setup for it. And this is the Tartelette All Matte palette, and this is more neutral colors, and they definitely did an amazing job with this palette as far as the color selection. It is absolutely beautiful. Some of the colors that I really love a lot are Free Spirit, Force of Nature, and Best Friend. So let's swatch those guys there for you. Oh, just look at those. Isn't that amazing? They're so beautiful. They're just, it's an excellent palette. It's still available. I do recommend it if you like matte shades. I mean, the formulation is fabulous. They blend out wonderfully. They have great pigmentation, and there's so many looks that you can do with it. I highly recommend it. So that would be Tarte. Let's move on to the next one. Should we do, so they have 2 more categories. Oh, I almost forgot. I do have a one-off. This is a Sedona lace. When I ordered my brushes, I get all my brushes from Sedona lace. I'm not a Sigma brush fan. I think Sedona lace is equally as good, if not better, because I like the color scheme. I have the pink, the midnight lace, and I absolutely love them. I think that they're less expensive and they're better quality. I'll stand by it. I know some people are going to hate me for it, but I love my Sedona lace. I just think the brushes are phenomenal. And naturally, as a vegan, I only use synthetic haired bristles. I know that Tara Babies loves her Wayne Goss brushes, and I am sure I would absolutely love them too. And I know that there's a lot of talk about how they were done without cruelty, but I think that those belong to the animal. So this is, I had to include it because it did have 4 shadows, and that's what we were talking about before as what constitutes a palette for me. I think this is a cute palette. I like the coppery color. It is so pigmented. You can see there, it's just, and it gives a great glow. This blue, it's not quite as creamy. Let's see. But as you can see, I mean, it just gave off gorgeous color. So for costume work, it's excellent. And it did include a cute little brush. I have a travel brush set from Sedona Lace, so I don't really need this one. But if I did, I would use it because it's a good little brush. So it's a good little palette. Next, I think let's go to Urban Decay, and then we'll end with Too Faced, because Too Faced I have the most palettes, I think, of anything. Too Faced is probably one of my favorites. So I'll start with the smallest. This was one of those 500 point perks from Sephora. It is a little 4-color palette. It's got Skimp and Bust and Gilt. I just thought it was cute. It came with a 24-hour glide-on pencil. It's adorable. I've barely used it, but it's cute, nice to have. This is a Z palette. And this is because I did not like the Book of Shadows for Redux, how big it was. And it just, every time I pulled the tray out, there was a little corner that kept getting pulled up, and it would cut into one of my shadows. And so I got a Z palette, and I basically took just the shadows that I like out of that, and I depotted them, and I put them into this Z palette. These are the shadows that I actually enjoy out of it, and I don't use it probably as frequently as I could. Again, it's a lot of shimmer. There's, I think, actually, I don't think any of them are truly matte. These ones here are more satin finish, but there really is no true matte in it. But I do love the Z palette, and it is my only Z palette. So, The next is probably one of my favorites from Urban Decay, and I thought I wasn't going to like it. I actually thought, no way, it's only got a few shadows in it. Why would I want to get this? But I got it on a whim, and because of one color in it that I thought, oh my gosh, I have to have, and that's Tyranny. That's this color up here. And you can see already, kind of as I turn it, look how dug in that is into both of those. It's pretty intense. So let me show you Tyranny. And again, my other favorite, Righteous, here with the massive divot. So we will swatch those for you. Oops, I didn't use the right finger for Righteous there. That's Righteous, and that is Tyranny. I just love those colors. I think they're absolutely beautiful. And then this went on sale for $15. I think you might even still be able to get it for $15, depending on where you go. And so, of course, I had to pick up another one because, well, for that price, how can you not pick up another one and have a backup when you love a color that much? I mean, I've had it less than a year and I'm already, you know, that far into it. I'm definitely going to use it up. So, love the Pulp Fiction palette by Urban Decay. And then, of course, I had to have all of the Naked palettes. So, the very first Naked palette I actually got was Naked 2. And you know, it's funny, I actually enjoyed this quite a bit when I first got it. Tease was probably my favorite because obviously it's the matte color in it. That's pretty much all I used. I didn't really use a ton of other ones in it. I did like Booty Call a little bit, Chopper occasionally, but I'm just not into the shimmers as much. And this is a very cool tone palette, and I do like my warmer colors. So occasionally I do use it, but it's really good when I'm trying to do makeup on anybody else. So I do like it for that reason. The next palette I got was, of course, Naked 1. I had to get Naked 1. Everybody has it. It's warm tone. I'm pretty dipped into the Naked color here. You know, you guys have probably all seen it. Buck. You know, I love Buck. Everybody's seen all of those matte colors, and I really like Toasted. So, and I'm sure you've seen this swatched about 1,000,000 times, but I really love it. So I do like that. I don't dip into it as often as I probably could, but I wouldn't want to not have it in my collection. My favorite of the three, though, has to be Naked 3 because I love my rose gold colors. Limit here is and Nooner are my absolute favorites. Let's see if we can get those swatched. Those are my absolute favorites. I love them. I don't use this palette as much some of the other palettes that I have, mainly because I only have the limited 3 matte shades pretty much here. So if I really need an awesome rose gold look, I will go to this palette. So I really love my Naked 3. Wouldn't give it up. Love it. And I'll get use out of it. It'll last me for probably years. So, all right, now we are moving on. I need to make a little space here for my biggest collection, and that is Too Faced. And actually, I have one palette on the way, the new Sugar Pop palette that I don't have yet. So if I get it before this video goes up, I might insert a clip of that before I post this video so that you can see all of my Too Faced. So let's start with the big one, shall we? And that was this year. This was the Belle Carasell. Now, this palette I love. I primarily love it because of how darn cute it is. It is just absolutely adorable. And I still keep it as packaging because this box is gorgeous. It sits on my vanity and I love it. So one thing I did though is what I do use the most out of it. I don't use the shadows as much out of it as I use this one. So I keep this particular palette, which is part of the thing I like so much about the Belle Carasell was that it had all these different little palettes that you could take out. And so I just put where this one goes against that so that all the way around you can see it. And this one is my favorite. This one is Luminous Peach. And I am just absolutely obsessed with this blush. And I have like no space here. I just absolutely adore this blush. It is so beautiful to me. I don't know. Peach blushes are my absolute favorite. I have a blush addiction, so if you're interested in seeing my blushes, definitely let me know. Post in the comments, send me a message. Let me know what you'd like to see, but I absolutely love this Luminous Peach, and I'm actually thinking about working with the Sun Bunny Dark a little bit more because I'm really tan now, and I'm thinking maybe I need to kind of put the Sun Bunny Dark into my rotation. The only problem with it is that it does have shimmer, and I'm not a huge fan of bronzers that have shimmer. I like to have more matte bronzers. Hoola is my absolute go-to Holy Grail contour, and then Tarte Park Avenue Princess is my Holy Grail bronzer. So the next, this is the palette that if I had one regret in all of these palettes that I own, this would be it. And I'm holding on to it merely because of one of the blushes that I happen to like. But everything else in this palette, I don't know. I just don't like it. And I really thought I was going to. In fact, I purposefully was so excited about this palette because I thought I was going to love it. And this is the Too Faced Love Sephora 15th Anniversary palette. And I thought this was going to be the most awesome thing in the world. I love that it came with Too Faced Shadow Insurance. I haven't needed to break into it yet because I have the big one. But I'm going to do a video about the Shadow Insurance because I absolutely love Too Faced Shadow Insurance. However, after about halfway through the bottle, it gets runny. And I have recently found my Holy Grail eyeshadow primer, and my eyeshadow lasts like 18 hours. And doesn't move. It is absolutely perfect, and it is under $10. So if you're interested in that video, let me know. It does come with a little teddy bear brush. Again, it's a nice brush if you're in a pinch. It comes with the Sun Bunny bronzer, the light and dark, Chocolate Soleil bronzer, which I love. I absolutely love the Chocolate Soleil bronzer. As you know, it's one of their best ones. It's beautiful. And it's matte, but this is the blush that I absolutely love, and this is Who's Your Poppy. So let's see if we can get a decent swatch on that. Problem is it's formed a little bit of a hard pan. There you go, you can kind of see it. And these are the shadows. I just am not a fan of the shadows, primarily because in all of this, there was only one matte shadow, and that's over here. This is behind the counter, and even that is just not... It has more of a satin quality to it. It's just not, I mean, it's pigmented, it's pretty, but it's a gray, and that's it. Like, it's too dark to be a transition shade for me, and everything else is just shimmer, shimmer, shimmer. And I did dig into Piano Keys a little bit for a highlight, but I just can't get behind this palette. Just didn't like it. Not a fan. I do like the Who's Your Poppy blush, and that's the only reason I've kept it around. So next, we'll keep on the big one. I know some of you will be like, oh my gosh, with all these palettes, how do you not own the chocolate bar palette? Alright, so I didn't get the chocolate bar palette because at the time I didn't think I was going to like the colors. Now I'm reconsidering it and I'm thinking about trying it. However, when the semi-sweet came out, I absolutely loved the colors in it because of one color, and that was peanut butter. If you've been watching this video since the beginning, you know I love that kind of coppery, warm brown. And so when I opened this up and I saw peanut butter over here, as you can see, it's already dipped into pretty well. I just was in heaven. So between peanut butter and nougat here, let's see if I can give a swatch for you. I'm sure you guys have seen it. Oh, they're just so creamy, so lovely. Just look at that peanut butter color. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And the coconut cream up here, and the smell every time you open it. I love this palette. I'm really thinking about getting the chocolate bar palette because of it. But I really love the semi-sweet. I'm using it at least weekly, if not more than once a week. So loving this palette. Then I have the smaller little kit ones they have. Now this one, you're going to be like, you have two of the same palette. So this is the first one that I got. This is the Summer Eyes palette. I'm a big fan of Pink So Foxy, and she absolutely loved her Summer Eyes palette. that she had. She loved Toasted Coconut, and as you can see, I'm pretty well dipped into it. Love that color. And this color though, Coral Crush, is my absolute favorite summertime color. This is like, it just doesn't get better than that for me. It is my absolute favorite color. It's going to be hard for you to see it on me right now because of the tan, but that is my absolute favorite color in the world. And then they stopped making this palette. And I'm like, no, it can't be, it can't be. I need this palette. Now I know they came out with some that are similar to Coral Crush, but I've swatched them all and none of them are like Coral Crush. And you can't see it from this angle, but it's quite dipped into. In fact, this whole side is way lower than the other side. And my fear was, oh my goodness, here's my absolute favorite color, that and Toasted Coconut. And I'm not going to be able to use them anymore. So I went on a hunt for another Summer Eyes to be able to find this. And the only place I could find it, I think, was on beauty.com or Beautylish. I'm not sure where I found it, but as you can see, there was a sticker there. This was a tester. This was the original. So this was before the remake of where they started making these in the tins. This is the original Summer Eye palette, and I am so happy because it has Coral Crush and Toasted Coconut in it, and they are the exact colors. They are the correct colors. And what's nice is I didn't realize that they had reformulated the Summer Eyes when they did the tin, and they had actually made Seashell up here a matte color, which I really love. But it used to be Sugar Sand, which is down here, which is this really sparkly color. So I didn't realize that those were a little different. So, so it was nice. I actually got an additional color out of this. So, but that is why I have two different ones of these. Then I have the next of the original box palettes I have is the Natural Eye. I love the Natural Eye. I, have gotten amazing looks out of it. I think it's a great palette. It's lovely. It does only have the 3 matte shadows, which I've always been disappointed about. But most recently, what they did is they took a palette that I already loved and just wished they had more matte colors and basically turned it into an all matte palette, which is, I saw this and I was waiting for it. It was like, as soon as it came available, I had to have it because I was so excited. I saw the promo pictures come up first because this palette has everything I could possibly want. I've been using this palette nonstop. I know it doesn't look it, but I only recently got it. I mean, the chocolate cookie color, the strapless color. If you haven't seen this swatched, let me give you, so I'll do the middle 3 here. It is just absolutely gorgeous. These colors are just brilliant. Let's do maybe the bottom 3 now. It is an absolutely gorgeous palette. Look at that. I mean, look at that color right there. Really, like, it just doesn't get much better than that, It's just absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous. I couldn't love this palette anymore, and I'm so glad I got it. And I feel pretty comfortable though in not getting a second one. I don't think I'm going to need the second one. I've debated it. Maybe. We'll see. Right now I feel comfortable with just the one. And then I have 2 more of their sort of like specialty ones. They came out with Rock and Roll palette at the same time they came out with the Country palette and the Cat Eyes palette. I wasn't a fan of the Country palette. I really liked the color Paper Roses, but when it swatched really light and I didn't like that. So the Rock and Roll palette was what I was drawn to, mainly because it had such unique colors in it, like Glam Rock down here and Punk, which I used for St. Patty's Day, and Ska. Ska, I think, is probably one of the most unique colors I've ever seen in a palette. Let's see if I have any space left whatsoever. Look at that color. I mean, you can see it is just such a unique color and it's just really beautiful. So I love that, and I think this is a great palette to have. It's definitely not an everyday palette. It's a specialty palette, but I love having it in my collection. I think it's really cute and it's just so adorable. And then I got the a la mode eyes. Now the reason I got the a la mode eyes was initially I really liked the Jardin color because it was similar to Coral Crush, but it's very different. But I ended up falling in love with the Cane's color. So let's see if I can get another swatch here going. So we'll do Cane's and Jardin. Right there. You can see those. I just, look at the shimmer on that Cane's. Isn't that lovely? And the Jardin has this wonderful pink glow. It's just absolutely beautiful. So I really like the a la mode eyes. I wasn't a fan of the Paris one or whatever that was, so I didn't get that, but I really did like the a la mode eyes, and you can still get this. It's still available. So that is it for my palettes, guys. I do have other palettes that are not eyeshadow palettes. I have blush palettes and different like highlighting palettes, you know, hourglass ambient lighting, things like that. So I do have other palettes, but these are all my eyeshadow palettes, and then obviously some of the Tarte ones include one or two blushes in with it. But these are all the eyeshadow palettes I have. I think I'm somewhere in the 40s, not sure. So if you have any questions, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear what you think, or if there's anything you'd like to see more up close or in person, or anything you'd like to see. I'm just starting to add some more makeup videos to my channel that has been primarily focused on other things for a long time. But I really love makeup. It is a passion of mine. It's my collection. It's something that I work really hard at, and I just love it. And I recognize that I probably will never be able to use all of this in my lifetime, but it is my passion, it is my love, and it's my hobby. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and goodbye.